Oh, there it is, handling bad advice. Okay, so the context of that was when people are getting bad advice, I think, right? Was that the context when we wrote that down?
Yeah, because
Getting-
you got somebody talking in their ear on the right side, kind of negating your good information on the left.
Okay.
It's during the escrow.
Yeah. So what are some ways that we can counteract that stuff?
That'd be the dentist and the cocktail party talking to the person who just went into contract on property in Sky Ranch and like, why are you buying up there?
Yeah.
Or it
or
happens.
just
It happens a
have-
lot
oh,
more than you think.
Yeah.
Request for
And they-
repairs, and their brother's like, oh, you shouldn't pay anything. They
Right.
should just, you don't have to pay any closing costs.
Yeah, I want to go in the dentist's office and they tell them they're going to take out this tooth or put a cap on it for $1,000. No, for $90, pull it. You don't need it. What do you think he's going to say?
Right.
And he's giving real estate advice to the neighbor.
So what are some ways that we can counteract that bad advice?
There's no way to know exactly like all the different scenarios that people can get, but getting out ahead of that stuff and saying, hey, I know some people are going to talk to you about these things, but I need you to follow my guidance here because I do this for a living and they just do it from the stands.
Yeah.
That kind of like helps later on when it comes up. You say, hey, remember the stands thing we were talking about?
Totally. Yeah, I think the biggest thing with this is setting expectations up front and then communicating throughout. Hands down the best thing that you can possibly do, because you've got to, Steve Harney is a big person that I look up to, and he always talks about controlling the narrative. What's up?
Big person, too.
He's a large man.
He's about 3 times the size of me.
Dude, he came to watch us talk. It was fucking rad. Scary too. It's weird when somebody you look up to comes to watch you speak. It's pretty cool. But he talks about controlling the narrative. It's very, very important that we control the narrative. We should be the ones providing them the info as opposed to them hearing it from other people. So something that I've always lived by, if my client doesn't know what's going on with the transaction, if they have to call me and say, hey, what's going on? Where are things at? I'm not doing my job. And that's something you guys should all strive to live up to. Your client should never, ever have to call you and ask what's going on. Because if they do, that means you're not doing your job. Very important. You should always live by that. And so the best way to ensure that doesn't happen is, one, when we sit down for a buyer consultation, I've heard some of you guys in your value propositions, it's not as strong as it could be. What's one of the reasons somebody should sit down for a buyer consultation with us? One, yes, we want to learn about what they're looking for, all of that stuff. But two, we want to help them understand how the home buying process works here in San Diego. Because believe it or not, it's different in San Diego than it is in Sacramento. And it's different in Sacramento than it is in Scottsdale. It's different all over the place. So if somebody's never bought here in San Diego, even if they haven't bought in the last 5 years, we have this whole new LE and CD requirements and all of this stuff. That's changed. So we should be sitting down with them up front. Part of that buyer consultation is to help them understand how this process works. From the time of that meeting to finding the proper house, to once they find the proper house, how does that escrow process work? That's one of the reasons they should come sit down for a consultation with us, is so we can help them understand that process on day one. And then another thing that I found that's really important, when you are working with a client, the offer does get accepted, set another appointment. Hey, congratulations, I'm super stoked for you. I'd love to sit down, grab a coffee, grab a beer, and just walk through and recap what's going to be happening next. Never assume they know. Never, ever, ever, ever assume your client knows what's going to be happening next. It's our job to ensure that. So then sit down with them, walk them through those 10 steps. Again, so you touched on the 10-step escrow process when you first met with them and did your buyer consultation. Now you're in escrow. You sit down with them again, walk them through those 10 steps again. Then what do? Now, as you hit step 1, all right, it's time to send in your deposit. Here's how to do that. Step 2, boom, step 3, step 4, and you're sending them along the way of those 10 steps. That, hands down, is the best way to combat people getting in their ear, giving them bad advice, because it's our job to educate them. It's our job to control that narrative and help them understand how that process works. So now when somebody says, the dentist at the cocktail party gives them some bad advice, you're like, oh no, I actually met with my realtor, he explained that to me, right? This is how it works. That is, in my opinion, the way that you can best control that bad advice, is to already have given them the information beforehand, so that when somebody does say that to them, they're like, oh no, we already discussed that. Or like Matt said, set that expectation too. Maybe when you sit down for that coffee meeting, say, hey, as you go through this process, sometimes you've got friends in your ear, telling you things. If they ever tell you anything or ask you a question that you're not sure about, just bounce it off of me, right? Just bounce anything off of me. If you're ever unsure of something, if somebody tells you something, you want to see if that's true or not, just come bounce that off of me. I'm your resource to help with that. Jason.
Yeah, so I like to draw on experiences that have happened in the past. So I know you guys have heard me tell you some of this stuff. Some of the agents have said, well, this happened and this was a bummer. I said, hey, take that as an example so the next client you have, hey, this is what happened, and I want you to learn from this client's experience, right? So for example, my first flip happened this way. In 2002, at Buyers in Escrow, $200,000 condo up in Escondido. The very last week with loan docs and escrow, they called me up and they said, we want to cancel. I said, why do you guys want to cancel? They said, well, we talked to my mom and dad, and they said it's a bad investment and the market's going to get ready to crash. And I said, okay, how long have your parents lived here in San Diego? And this was the wife's parents, and she said, they've been here 10 years. I go, okay. How many houses they bought? Well, they bought nothing. I go, well, why haven't they bought nothing? Because for the last 10 years, they thought a market crash was coming. And they were like 20 years early, right? They could have made millions of dollars. And then we switched to the husband, and I said, okay, why do you think it's a bad idea? Well, my parents also, they've been here 5 years, and they think we shouldn't buy. And I said, okay, how many property have they owned? And they had owned nothing. So I literally had to call the buyer's agent because they wouldn't tell the buyer's agent. And I said, the clients want to cancel. Buyer's agent yelled and screamed at me, said, you need to call the listing agent with me. So we did a conference call. The listing agent's yelling and screaming at me like, you couldn't get the loan done. You told me it was going to happen. I go, I got docs and escrow. The kids want to cancel, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and buy the damn property at the $200,000 if you agree to it and get your seller to agree. I bought the property. 28 days later, I sold it for $230,000. I bought it for $200,000. We put $8,000 in it. I sold it for $230,000. Did my very first flip. Me and the agent chopped up $22,000, and it was like, it's the greatest story now. Like, not only tell you guys, but I tell every one of your buyers when I get that call. Getting advice, like Tom said, from somebody that has no freaking clue about San Diego real estate. So I just want to share that story so you guys can utilize that one. But remember, every bad thing that happens to you, you can use that as an experience to tell the next client so it doesn't happen to them.
Did you rub that profit in the client's face?
You know what? I've still never seen those clients ever since. One of these days I'm gonna run into them and I'll be like,
They're tenants now.
yeah.
Yeah, they're renting from you.
They probably are renting.
All right. Anything else on the handling bad advice during the process? Yeah.
Sending your videos that you made through the whole process, I think that would be setting those expectations,
Yeah. You guys are not sending out our 10-step videos.
You got to tell them to watch them though, because it's frustrating when you go through the effort of recording those and you send them to them on time, perfectly timed out with the transaction, and then they don't even get open.
The way that I found that works best is to both email and text.
Yeah.
Because people read the text, they don't always read the emails. So we automatically, like the TCs, I have send the 10 steps via email, and then I'm sending them via text on top of that just to make sure. But it's crazy. If you look at some of the videos in our series, they've got like 600-700 views. Well, we haven't done that many transactions where people have watched it, but that means some people watch them 2, 3, 4, 5 times, which is really cool. So you guys gotta leverage those 10-step videos. If you don't want me on them, that's fine. Record your own.
He has it all written. You just have to get up there in front
Yeah,
of the
just
camera.
do it. And again, when we're done with this, because we're gonna go over a lot of these things, we're gonna redo the 10 steps just to give a refreshed version, because it's been 2 or 3 years, I think, since we recorded those. So there's some new stuff, so we'll make sure we hit on all that.